Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Questbound Reader. And guys, thanks for watching. I know it's been a while. I was on vacation, and now I am back. And man, am I happy to be back, especially with this book series that I'm reading. So this is going to be the review for Book 7 of The Wandering Inn, titled "The Reigns of Liscor." Now, if you haven't been caught up with the series up to this point, you've missed a lot. Stop what you're doing. Go get the books. Go buy them if you want to support the author. If not, go read it at their website. They have a website. If you Google The Wandering Inn, it'll show you Pirate Abba, the author's website. There you can read the entire Wandering Inn series for free, which is what everybody likes. And it is not like pirated in any way. It is the author who actually created this website so people can become aware of The Wandering Inn, because The Wandering Inn is a light novel. Now, with that said, The Wandering Inn is by large and far, I think that's what the saying says, my favorite series of all time. Not because it's complex, not because you're gonna unravel the mysteries of the world, but because it's just a really fun, genuine, and to me original series, and I absolutely love every single thing about it. I think the lowest book I've rated is like a four and a half out of five, probably a 4 out of 5, and man, it's good to be back. It's been like 4 or 5 months since I last reviewed one of the Wandering Inn books. And in full transparency, I was scared of reading more because I get hooked on them, and I feel like I'm going to catch up too soon. And I like reading them in the Kindle format just so that it syncs well with my other books. So I know that there's only X amount of Kindle books out thus far. Um, right. I promise I won't be scared to read The Wandering Inn anymore. I'm just going to keep reading. I had such a blast. So this book, I'm going to rate it, I think, a 4.5 out of 5. This is a book that focuses on a lot of transitory elements. So it's a transitional book between what happened last book and what's going to come in the next few books. One of my subscribers mentioned that I should read this book and the next two in close proximity because a lot of the events that happen, kind of intertwine with each other. And I can kind of see why that person said this, because there's nothing too major happens in this book. Let's start from the beginning. A quick recap of Book 6. The ending of Book 6 is General Shivertail dies at the hand of the necromancer who is possessing the Goblin Lord. Um, there was a very unfair war between General Shivertail and the necromancer's strongest minions, and unfortunately, the General Shivertail dies. So, this book starts off with the mourning of General Shivertail. It is a very somber tone of the book. People are sad. There's not any noise in the street, and people are paying their respects to this, awesome general who was well respected throughout the entire continent of Israel. At the same time, other events are happening. When we go to Erin and her storyline, we remember that she and Warlord Ilvers had paid Hawk, a courier, to run an installed door in one of the walled cities named Palace. Now, he does this at the start of this book, and Aaron, as well as Warlord Ilvers, are able to walk in to Palace, which is alarming. There's a huge argument that causes the government of Palace to want to seize the door from Aaron because of the potential for war and infiltration into their city. Now, Erin, being the much more cunning person than I thought she was, decides to play it stupid and decides that she's gonna act like she doesn't know what's going on, and eventually they get things sorted out. Here comes the first big sequence of this book, right? You get giant freaking face eater moths that start sprouting from the dungeon under Liscor and start attacking everything. Simultaneously, spring is here in Liscor, hence the name, the Rains of Liscor. And in spring, rain comes. Now, this is not your typical rain. These are floods, right? Up to 20 feet or more of water covering all of the land. Luckily, Erin's inn is on the top of a hill, so she's unaffected too much by the waters. But um, At this point, the waters haven't risen thus far. The five cedar moths start attacking the entire walled city of Liscor. Not walled city, the entire city of Liscor, and breaching their walls. They're attempting to do that while also attacking the Wandering Inn. Now, thankfully, Erin had several groups of gold ranked adventure teams that were helping her defend the Wandering Inn. The general, or not general, the watch captain, Zavara, she sounds the siege bell for Liscor, and everybody in the immediate vicinity goes to protect the city, except for the Antinium, because unbeknownst to everybody else, the Antinium were already fighting these moths in their hive. Now, I want to make a pause and say this. The face eater moths vary in size, but they did number in the thousands. Some of them are as big as a knoll. Some of them are 50 feet in height, which are massive, massive, massive moths. And true to their name, they eat your face. They get up on you and they do the nasty stuff all over your face, and they'll rip your body up, chew you up. That's it. You're dead. Gonzo. Um, why is this important? Well, because most of these people are human or drakes. They're not that big, right, compared to 50-foot moths. And these moths are very, very strong. Now, they're not the brightest of monsters, but they're smart nonetheless. Um, I don't want to give you too much because I don't want to ruin the book for you. I want you guys to read this and be filled with wonder and questions like I was when I read it. So I will say that we do have an unlikely, and let's call this person a hero, who, with their clever thinking, manages to, I guess, not destroy, but shut down the attack. There were no big casualties of important main characters, but a lot of people were wounded. Some wounded to the point of no recovery, and I'm not going to say who. Fast forward, there's like a big pause where a lot of miscellaneous things come into play, and nothing really happens for a while. You see the point of view of Flo's the King of Destruction, which was always awesome. I like reading his point of view a lot. The more I read about him, the less animosity I feel toward him, and the more I kind of root for the guy because he's just trying to do what's best for him and his people. And I think that's what every continent is trying to do in this world. Um, we have another time lapse where the five hobgoblins that are in Aaron's, the Wandering Inn, go into the dungeon to steal some artifacts and face very interesting monsters that I'm not going to mention here because I want you guys to read it. But definitely very creepy monsters too. And by this point, the waters are flooding. Now, something happened to General Shivertail's body and his will. Um, and all I'm saying is that it's brought back into Liscor. I'm not going to mention what else happens. I'm not going to mention what happens with his will. You have to read it. But an unlikely person inherits one of the most powerful artifacts known to the Drakes. And you have to read to find out who. But this brings me to my last point, and that is the goblins. This book ends with goblins, specifically Rags and her band of goblins, which, I am really starting to like Rags. I mentioned this before. She's one of my favorite side characters. I think she is cunning for a race that was looked at as dumb and monstrous and savage. And I think that this book shines a very nice light on what it means to be human, even though you're not really human. So you have two captors from the Knights of the Petal, um, who get captured by Rag's band, and instead of doing what other goblins do, which is torturing, raping, doing things like that to the humans, they decide that they're not going to because these things are inherently bad. And you see from their point of view who the monsters really are. I want to read a quick highlight that I put from one of the knights who's captured, and he says, and this is in reference to Rags and her band of goblins. He says, "In silence, he watched and listened and wondered if he'd been blind all his life, or if he simply ignored the truth. Because to his horror, when he looked at the goblins standing and arguing, turning to their leader, ignoring the children running around, brushing away flies, shifting impatiently, talking, thinking, speaking. He was terribly afraid. Afraid that he hadn't been killing monsters, but people. And to me, this is what keeps the Wandering in my favorite series. It's the fact that you can relate even to the most unrelatable monsters, people, beings, and you feel the humanity inside each one of them. And I think that this author, Pirate Alba, whoever you are doing tremendous work. I can't wait to keep reading this series, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys have gotten to this point, and if you haven't, read the dang series. You guys don't know what you're missing out. This is really, really an awesome series. I can't wait to get to the next book. Um, it's definitely going to be my TBR for probably late April or early May. And I mean, I might just read it again in early April, the next book. I'm hooked. And every time I start reading one, I can't stop myself from reading another. So, yes, thank you, Pirate Alba, for this gift. And guys, gals, friends, um, read the series. You guys don't know what you're missing. You really don't. I highly encourage you to read it. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want more in-depth discussions on any books, I would appreciate you messaging and commenting. I also would love it if you guys could comment down your favorite characters of this series so far. And if you're more ahead of me, comment their names anyway, and I'll be on the lookout for them. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for everything. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.